Aloha everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? We are doing our evening update. Just waiting for Philip to come on. But just to let everybody know, Fissure 8 is still banging, still tons of lava still going into the channelized flows that is moving towards Kīlauea area. Also, I don't know if everybody got the memo of Leilani Estates, their curfew getting lifted yesterday. So everybody, if you guys want to go out and enjoy and then come back to Leilani Estates, you still can get into Leilani Estates after 6 p.m. But if you guys gonna go out and enjoy, you guys just gotta remember that every place there is 2 roadblocks before you get into Leilani. So the first roadblock is right at Pahoa Town, right at the stoplight. Second roadblock is at Leilani. So other than that, lava flows are still flowing in Kīlauea area. The flow front is about almost a mile wide. So let me see if I can get. Hold on, guys. Hold on. There we go. So we're just waiting on Philip. He should be jumping on with us soon. Let me see if he's here. Not yet. So let me continue on with the update. So the channelized flows is still pumping towards Kīlauea area. So the channel that's supplying this flows, which I'll be seeing tomorrow, is pretty wide. It's about 75 yards wide, and still tons of lava is still entering the channelized flows. But the pool on Leilani Avenue and Luana, what's left of it, the pool at Fissure 8 is super big. It's about 120 feet high. So the fissure, from the ocean this morning, you could see the fissure clearly from Hilo, actually, all the way across, and still pumping. So let me see if I can get. Hey, maybe he came yet? Did he come? There he is. So. And but anyways, that's what's. How's it going, Philip? How you doing?
How's it, Ikaika? Good.
All right.
Yourself?
How's the weather where you at?
Oh, we'll get some thunderstorms around here. Hope the connection stays pretty good. Let's see how it goes.
All right, right on. So one of the things that I had a question about too, Philip. We've been having some crazy rainstorms here in Pahoa. And just pretty much only in Pahoa, Leilani, and we've been having some variable winds, and those variable winds are pushing these plume clouds over Pahoa, and I'm pretty much certain that these plume clouds are the one that is creating all this rain and acid rain here in Pahoa. Big drops, a lot of rain. Is that what your experience is with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think you're right on. We've seen things smaller scale like this from an ocean entry down in Kalapana, but I don't think I haven't seen an ocean entry this huge, right? So for sure, the bigger it is, the more heat it's putting in the air, and the more it can definitely affect the weather, for sure.
Yeah, so we've been having some huge downpours here all day, big drop rain. Also when we're driving to the lava flow from the ocean, um, you know, our Andrew, his eyes was starting to burn from some of the rain that was kind of um, getting to us on the way there from transit to Hilo to the ocean entry.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's one thing you see for sure. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen pictures. I'm trying to find. There's a USGS picture they put out earlier today that shows really shows the size. Well, I think it might have been um, there was an aerial. I think it's that's come off. Yeah, it's really impressive to see. But yeah, it's definitely dominating the weather down there for sure. Let's see if I can find that image.
Right on. So this rain is this rain is pretty much acid rain. All right, Phil. I don't know if your connection is okay, but we're getting cutting in and out there.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. We'll keep trying. We'll keep trying.
All right, all right. So what happened also today? We got reports of Pu'u'o kind of erupting some red ash cloud and pretty much like the May 3rd um, eruption up at Pu'u'o. Pretty almost the same. What's your thoughts on that one?
Well, yeah. Yeah. What I've seen, I just looked at the thermal camera. I mean, there's a little bit of heat in there, but there really isn't that earthquake they had. It wasn't that big an earthquake, but the walls are pretty steep and unstable, right? So some most of the material falls into the crater, it comes back out like as a dust cloud coming out. So yeah, not actually an eruption. But unless
that's what I was...
any coming from below, an eruption.
That's awesome. That's what I was thinking, because there's so much earthquakes up in volcano area, and the estimated earthquakes is just phenomenal up there, and that's what I thought. Maybe there was a big earthquake and probably had a massive rock fall or something like that, or collapse pit or something like that, and that made that eruption today. You still there? Oh, we lost him. So apparently today, some reports of a good-sized eruption at Pu'u'o, and it was said to see people seeing and geologists seeing a huge ash cloud, exiting Pu'u'o into the atmosphere, and it was a red ash cloud, pretty much almost similar to May 3rd, but it's still, still very much. It was pretty insane. I seen some pictures today of what happened, and the geologists are kind of stunned about what happened. But the thing that I think it was happening was oh, Philip's back. Hold on, Phil. I've got you. Oh, he's back. Come on, Phil. It's cutting in and out, but so the judges, well, what I think it was, there's so much earthquakes that was happening up in Halemaumau and volcano area that I heard there was a 3.2 and a 3.6 earthquake, and after those earthquakes, that's when we seen those probably a part of the crater collapse into itself, and it created a huge not a huge ash cloud that was red, and people seen it from Kalapana area and also in the volcano area. So that was seen today. Also, Fissure 8 has been still pumping lava like none other, and we've been watching that fissure for a couple weeks. It's been active for almost 2 weeks, and let's see if we can get Phil back on. Oh, okay, let me try to see if I can get you invited. Yeah, maybe not. Oh, there we go. There we go. Here we go. Phil. Welcome back. So, if anybody has any, hey Phil, welcome back.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that.
So, also we have some questions about PGV, Phil, about fracking and I've been getting a lot of questions about fracking could have been the cause of this, but you have a lot of expertise on that kind of stuff too. So, what do you think about that, Phil?
Well, yeah, well, I wouldn't say I have a lot of expertise, but I have kind of the basic geology knowledge of kind of how fracking generally works and what it's supposed to do. And I don't know what's happened at PGV exactly, but the things I'd like to share with you guys, or maybe how things work elsewhere, and kind of what the data that is being mentioned as far as PGV is coming from, and you guys can decide whether or not you think that applies there or not. I don't know. I don't speak for PGV. I don't know exactly what's going on there. But there's a couple of things in general I would like to say. So first is that fracking is usually done when you're trying to pull out natural gas, right? So it's something where
Right.
you have some kind of gas or oil that's trapped underground, and that's what you're trying to pull out, right? So that kind of usually kind of rock that has space in it for the gas or the oil to sit in it, and you want it to come out of that rock, and so you need the more fractures, the better to kind of get it out into your wellhead kind of thing. So that's totally different from what's happening at PGV, right? As far as I know, they're not actually pulling anything out of the ground like any kind of gas. They're using the actual heat of the ground, right? So the thing is, the ground gets hotter the deeper you go. That's true kind of everywhere. It's extra hotter, quicker over the rift zone. That's probably why they chose that exact spot, is because we wouldn't have to. They could get more heat more easily, basically. But one thing to kind of keep in mind is that fractures that exist already, don't count as fracking, right? That's cracks that already exist. As we all have learned, there's plenty of cracks all over the place. So when you're trying to get the heat and let's say we're just using plain steam without talking about any other additives, but if you're using plain steam, the more cracks you have down there, then the worse off it is, because you're losing that pressure for it to come back up, right? So I've heard some people saying why would they do it? Because it was a waste of money. Yeah, I think in general, that's probably spot on. They're probably not lying about that, right? Why would they make extra cracks to make their job even harder, right? So that's kind of the first thing. As far as I don't know, like I said, I don't know exactly what's going on in there. To me, like a fracture that's naturally occurring that's just a crack, right? That's not the same as fracking. If you pump things in with enough pressure to actually cause new cracks, that's when I would call it fracking personally, right? When
Yeah,
you're
that's what I
making new cracks that don't already exist.
And then it goes parallel with the the surface of the land. So that's what I was told from one of the workers at PGV, that they drill down and drill horizontally.
Sideways and then back up. Yeah, that way you make like a loop, right? So imagine there's a crack in your loop, right? Then you're gonna be leaking out stuff, right? Which is probably because there's natural cracks already, right? That's kind of hard to have on a rift zone. Oh, sorry, cut out and back in. So on a rift zone area that's so cracked already, that's already a challenge for them, right? They don't want to have any more cracks than they need. That's kind of the first thing that kind of comes to mind. The second thing really is just the scale of the forces involved, right? What made all those cracks in the rift zone in the first place was the magma, and the fact that eruption's been happening here over centuries and thousands of years, and before people were even here, so those cracks were mostly already there, right? So it's possible, let's say that after that first earthquake swarm, when, you know, everything was kind of unstable. Let's say they had drilled a new well right then they maybe could have tipped it off right at that moment, right? But compared to the forces of magma is putting through, it's really not that great, right? It's kind of like trying to push over a boulder by throwing a pebble at it, right? If the boulder is like positioned on the edge of a cliff, like and ready to go, and like any slight movement could tip it over, then maybe sure. But you got to get that boulder to the edge of the cliff first in order to have that effect be possible, right? If that boulder is not at the edge of the cliff, then it doesn't matter how many pebbles you throw at it, it's not gonna move the thing, you know. So that's kind of the second part of it. The third part of it is that we saw the signal of this eruption starting at the summit, right? So everything begins at the summit. Pu'o'o, especially Pu'o'o first, and the summit following. You know, it did not start at PGV; it kind of stopped at PGV, right? And that's an interesting thing to think about. You know, why might that happen? That's probably got to do with the geology of the place. You know, if I was PGV and I was looking for a place to put a geothermal well, I'd want a place that was like, you know, like I said before, not cracked as much, right? So a place maybe that's more solid, more cooled, you know. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why the lava flow decided to, or was able to pop out there and didn't go any further, is because maybe it found that same solid spot. You know, I don't know the geology well enough, but I'm just putting out an idea that, you know, it's to me equally feasible as, you know, something, all the other stuff floating around out there, right? So, not, you know, so that's kind of the part in particular, right? So there's a couple other things that have been circulating around as far as like how, in other places, geothermal processes have actually caused earthquakes and caused, you know, like that kind of thing, you know. So when you have a fault line that's like kind of locked in place and you actually add fluid to it, then you can cause more earthquakes. That was kind of proven true in Colorado in the 1970s, right? Nothing to do with geothermal at all, or kind of pumping fluid down there to kind of try to dispose of it. And it's kind of like when you have like a glass on a bar counter, right? And if the glass is totally dry, it's not going to slide along the counter because it's too sticky. There's too much friction underneath it, right? But if you get a little bit of water underneath that glass, then it can slide along. So it is totally possible by injecting fluids into faults that are dry before that you could like cause fault lines to move and create earthquakes that way. That has happened all over the world. It's true, absolutely. That's as far as I can tell, not what was happening at PGV, right? The earthquakes followed from the path from the summit all the way down to the East Rift Zone first, you know? I mean, I haven't been watching PGV for years and years and years, so I don't know. Maybe that happened at some point in the past. It's hard for me to say, right? But just in generally speaking, when you see reports of, you know, that kind of injection of water into faults causing earthquakes, that can happen, but that's not what's happening here in Hawaii. Earthquakes are coming from the volcano and you know, not from the other way around, right? So that's kind of my take on it. Like I said, I don't exactly know. I don't speak for PGV. I can't say that they did or didn't cause it. You know, all I can say is it seems like we're giving, in this particular case, giving people too much credit for what this is, you know, clearly the work of the volcano to me. That's just my personal take. Yeah. So, everyone, you know, you guys gotta, like, you know, you may have more information than I have, you know, in particular of what's happened there. So if so, you got to make your own decisions. You know, I can't speak for you or speak for them or anything else, you know. But people have been asking to hear my take, my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion, right, on what's important to consider in a situation right there. Yeah. So that's kind of the PGV thing. Is that enough about PGV? Should we switch to something else? I found that picture of the gas cloud on the satellite I was going to show you guys. So here's a picture. This is an image from posted by USGS Volcanoes, right, of the taken from Sentinel-2 satellite. And I lost you, but I'm back maybe. Can you guys hear me? You're frozen on my end.
Yep.
Well, if you can hear me,
I hear you. Yep.
You can see the size of that gas cloud, right? This is the gas cloud, the weather that you're talking about, Ikaika. Look at the size of that gas cloud that's flowing away from the ocean.
Yeah, that's the reason why we have a lot of rain right there.
Yeah. And just like you're saying, you know, to the north and the south, it's clear, but just right there, right where it's blowing across you guys. Yeah, it's definitely changing weather right there.
Yeah, so you know, we had a winter advisory today. We had a winter advisory in Hawaii just because of this volcano. So that's a good indication.
That's amazing,
of, you know, the gases that was coming out of the ocean entry, and followed by the area that is covering, and it looks like we're in Kīlauea, and this volcano also can create Um, some some nasty rain also.
Right, right. Did you talk about what's going on at the summit already earlier today, or should we cover it a little bit?
We talked to Ken Boyer about the summit and what was happening up at the summit, but we can get some more detail on what's going on at the summit. There's tons of earthquakes, big earthquakes, one at like 5.9 and a lot of 3.0s and around in that area. But it looks like it's starting to do the same thing like the story of the 7 steps of Pele.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Ken texted me like in the middle of the night, saying he was hearing a sound up there. Right, he thought it sounded like a jet engine or something. And I told him, well, the first thing that I think of when I hear that is there's a gas vent opening up. Yeah, and that was really interesting to see. When there's a new picture by USGS posted today. Let's see if I can show you guys. That clearly shows there's actually two different spots where the gas is venting out. You guys see that? Not just one
Yep,
like
there's
before.
two vents.
So I mean, clearly the gas is trying to work its way out through there, and it's found at least one new path, whether it's temporary or not. It's interesting, but clearly, what we're seeing there is that same cycle of the gas building up, trying to relieve the pressure, and it can't get out fast enough. It's causing little explosions, leading to big explosions, right? The tilt pattern is pretty similar to that. Let's see if I can pull up the tilt for you guys. The tilt pattern. Let's go to the one for the last. Here's just the whole last week, right? So you can see at the end of the graph over here on this side, pretty regular pattern, right? And that's interesting. That's maybe why the USGS scientists like Don Swanson have finally felt confident enough to go out there in between these things when they think it's the least likely to happen and check out what's going on the ground, right? So that's been really interesting to imagine what that's like for him to be able to see the process happening that he's been studying for decades. Actually to see it developing for himself, right? And the big story there is there's a crater keeps collapsing, right? That's the big story there. Let's see, there's a updated image, updated animation sequence of Hawai Mau. There's one extra frame at the end. And so we've kind of seen growing from the middle, that's kind of normal. Here's a one from last week, the slumping, but now at the very end, there's a big new crack kind of at the side. So I actually took a screenshot of that. So let's see if I can pull it up, right? So there is a screenshot.
I seen that crack on the overflight. And
yeah, this one right here, like from the last image, this crack got a lot bigger, right? And there's also a big chunk of it that goes over here now, right? And that's where the parking lot is. You guys have seen pictures of the cracks of the parking lot. That's this big chunk, right? So it's really interesting. The size of the outermost cracks of this thing are now going all the way out, much bigger than a 24 crater. Yeah, so that's basically the big story there. Is that keeps happening? It's gonna. I don't know if we've really seen this pattern exactly like this before. So that's why we're not really sure exactly what to expect. But for sure, a lot of magma has left the area. More so than we've seen in a long time to cause that scale of collapse.
Right. So in the 1920s and 30s, they tried bombing it, right?
Yeah, I think it was the early 40s. Yeah, because it was I think World War II time when they tried to bomb a flow from Mauna Loa, actually, that was kind of going in the saddle maybe towards Hilo, right? And a couple of things happened. One is they missed. It was really hard to bomb the edge of the flow, right? Maybe we could do better this day with that. But here's why I think it's never going to happen again, is that if you divert that flow and it burns anything down afterwards, then it becomes people's fault, right? If it just goes its natural course, then that's an act of nature. Once people divert that flow and it goes, let's say whatever it destroys is going to be whoever bought its fault. So, I don't think you're ever going to see that happen. It's not even to mention the cultural implications for that entirely, but just practically speaking, the legal system today is not going to happen. So we can please stop talking about that. It's kind of ridiculous.
Right.
Other diversions have occurred other places, but that's kind of different. That version past. Maybe that's all right because it's an individual, but no government will ever do that, as far as my belief is. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. So that would be cultural sensitive if people start to bomb it. Just let the flow do what she wants to do and let it go wherever it wants to go. So that's part of it. But as far as the lava flows in the lower Puna area and the east, lower eastern zone, nothing has changed. The volume of lava is still there. There's tons of volume in that is coming out. But what we have noticed is some of the cracks that is uprift has slowed down. It's not steaming as much as it was before. So that's what we noticed. But we've seen this happen a couple times during this eruption, and then a couple days later it just pumps up again. So is there any connection with anything of with that happening? Something happening there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to kind of see what data I can find, and I think that might be something to think to be optimistic about, the fact that that's decreasing, and I've also been trying to look at tilt meters, like the tilt meter farthest on the rift that I can find as the one at Kīlauea Puna, and I'll show you guys a plot of it, kind of thing. And the basic point is that it's been going down. It's been going down, right? So it means that whatever was pressurizing the system it's still depressurizing, right? Which is good. So I mean, it's not pressurizing, which means I don't think there's anything extra coming in. I'm not ready to say this is the beginning of the end yet, but in hindsight, it might be we're seeing something like that. It's hard to say, exactly. The magma could be finding a new path through, could be pinched off enough that's going to overcome that pinch and, rejuvenate itself. So it's really hard. You really can't predict what it's going to do. But, on a day-by-day basis, we look for these little signs as an encouragement that, maybe something is changing, right? One clear difference is we've definitely found stability with the Fissure 8 being the main vent for over 2 weeks now, right? Almost all the other vents have basically shut off, or if they've activated, it hasn't been for long, right? So clearly the lava's got an easy way out at Fissure 8, and that doesn't seem to be stopping. So that's probably good, right? Because that's one that's the one vent, and it's terrible how the scale of devastation in Kapoho is it's hard to really comprehend, wrap your head around. But now that it's destroyed, lava, the best place for it to go is where it's already gone and there's nothing left to destroy anymore. So into the ocean, where it's flowed already, that's better than it going somewhere new, right? It's kind of the short game we can kind of imagine at this point, but better than anything else happening, now that it's too late to hope for anything different than for Kapoho.
Yeah, as far as what's the Fissure 8 and the size of the Fissure 8, it's still it still hasn't lose it. At times in this eruption, it has lost steam, but in an hour later it picks up steam again and pumps harder. But we've been noticing every night it gets a lot more active. It gets a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's roaring more. The gases gets pushed out more at night, and the fissure gets bigger at night. And we've been noticing that, and it's pretty weird about that, and it happens every night. So
yeah, do we know for sure it's the actual fountain? Do we know for sure that it's actually the fountain height that's been increasing every night, or? Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys can
felt another big earthquake.
Check out the live cam.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess another ash cloud, and I think that was predicted. Yeah, I think the USGS was saying that they're the cycle that they're on, that they've been happening every something like at least 30 hours or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sure it's really unnerving to be feeling those that often, right? And it's going to go on for a while longer until we see signs of that slowing down. And if anything, that image I just showed you guys of the crack got even wider, shows that it's still not slowing down the collapse at the summit.
Right.
So
another thing that
I'd be really interested.
I had a question about.
Yeah, I was doing
when does a fissure becomes a volcano?
Okay, so I think we really divide the volcano as by the source that comes up like through the crust of the earth, right? So for Kilauea, that happens underneath Halemaumau. So Kilauea is going to be one volcano, even though it has a southwest rift that goes 15 miles southwest and a southeast rift that goes 15 miles southeast and or 25 southeast and even further offshore, right? So we would call that a new vent, right? So Pu'u was a vent of Kilauea volcano, right? And this eruption site fissure 8 or whatever it ends up being called is another vent for Kilauea volcano. So it's all about the plumbing, right? The magma is coming from deep as far as people are concerned, 2.5 miles down at most, or half mile down. That's a long way for people. But compared to the crust of the earth, it's not that deep. Everything's inside of the crust of the earth underneath the rift zone. Whereas under Halemaumau, it's going down through the entire crust of the earth, right? That's what the hot spot really means. Is something's heating the crust of the earth below it, and coming from way, way down there, right? So that's a different plumbing system altogether, right? And that's where we come into the different systems of different volcanoes. Mauna Loa has the same process, right? It's being heated from below, but it's melting and coming up in a different place. So that makes it a different pipeline through the crust of the earth. That makes it a different volcano. So none of these fissures is going to be called a new volcano at any point. It's always going to be part of Kilauea. We'll call them new vents of and maybe new eruptions of Kilauea from the new vent, basically. So I hope that answers that.
All right. Well, right on. Hey, I'm hearing a lot of people saying that I need to get rest.
Yeah, for sure. You've been working hard.
I'm tired, but I just want to get this information out to all the people that needs this information to make to make better choices in the near future. So this is why we're talking to Brother Phil. But as far as the new fish that the fisher, not new, but the fisher that is pumping right now, the volume of lava has not slowed down a bit. So
yeah.
You probably can agree with me on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and speaking of volume, I got a correction I got to make. Yeah, so I said in the last feed that the amount of lava coming out was more than all of Pu'u in 35 years, and that turns out that's not exactly what was meant by the data that was put out. So it's the rate, the amount coming out at a time is coming out a lot faster. But Pu'u went on for 35 years. That's a long time, even at a slow rate. So build up a huge amount over a long time. So this eruption, if it were to keep going at the current rate, could get to that same amount in maybe about 4 years or so. That's the correct amount, right? So their actual rate of how fast it's coming out is faster than Pu'u ever did. That's the kind of the bottom line. But this hasn't gone on long enough. It's been 5 weeks, right? And Pu'u went on 35 years. It's hard to catch up 35 years in just 5 weeks. So I just wanted to put that correction out there. And yeah, for sure, it's not slowing down. We can all be thankful that we have a period of stability. People have been asking about like lava tubes, and maybe lava tube is not the equivalent would be the lava channel of this flow. The fact that the channel is well established and flowing to the ocean is what's creating a stability for us, right? And that's what we hope continues.
Hey Phil, you still there?
All right, you still with me? Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me? Did I cut out?
No, you're good.
Yeah. So.
So.
Yeah. What I was saying is,
another
even
question that was asked around.
Yeah, even without the lava tube, the fact we have a lava channel keeping things stable is a good sign as well. That's what I was trying to say in the short version.
All right. Another question was saying that is it still possible that the eruptions could go higher uprift across 130?
Yeah, so that's still possible, right? That's why we're saying the stability is a good thing. Until we see signs of those cracks opening up or putting out more gas or becoming hotter or anything like that, there's no reason to believe that's actually changing. So the fact that fissure 8 is open and erupting that big still is I'd say short term a good sign that things are stable down there. And unless there's more lava coming out of a sudden that needs to back it up, I don't see why it would have to break open a new crack at this point if there's an open crack flowing so much lava already. So not to say it can't happen, but the longer fisher rate stays stable, the less likely it seems to me, unless there's a surge in the system. And I think the surge we've seen, basically, we have been seeing it this past few weeks. So I don't think there's an extra secondary surge coming, if that's what, to kind of clarify. We don't see any signs of that in the tilt. We don't see any signs of that anywhere else. There's no earthquakes kind of showing too much magma pushing through the system. So I don't believe there's a second surge coming, at least not yet, not until we see more data that would suggest something like that. So for now, I'm still optimistic about 130 and those cracks and anything up the rift, right? Although keeping in mind, the whole rift zone is that because it's all going to erupt at one point or another, right? So, but maybe not this time.
Yeah. All right. So, and if anybody has any questions, I have a question. There's a few questions about, what about Loihi? Loihi is still active. It's been active, and there is still some eruptions below the surface, right?
Hello.
Hey, Phil.
Through the volcano, just like it moves through all the volcanoes. It kind of moves and starts and stops. Hello. You must have lost me. Yeah, you're coming through clear to me still, but let me know when you see me again.
Good.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So so magma is coming up through Loihi, just like through all the volcanoes, but it's not coming out onto the surface of of the sea floor right now. The last time that happened was 1996, I believe.
Wow.
Then that's magma moving up into the system, right? So it can move. Oh, looks like I got cut off again. But yeah, so when you see that many earthquakes, we call that an earthquake swarm, right? That shows magma actually moving around. One earthquake here and there is maybe just settling of the mountain. Maybe a little bit of magma moving here or there, but nothing major, right? So until you see something like at least 100 earthquakes in an hour, something like that, then it's not erupting. Magma's not even moving. Mauna Loa, the same case of Mauna Loa.
All right.
Until we see something like that moving there either.
Hear me, Phil?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Obviously, the connection is not great.
Right on. So,
tell me when you hear me again.
A bunch of questions. Yep, I can hear you now. So there's a bunch of questions that was
all right.
asked about.
So yeah,
how long do you think this flow would go on? You think?
Oh, can you repeat the question, please?
Hey Phil, you hear me?
Can you repeat the question, please? I can now.
How long
can you repeat the question?
How long would you think this flow go on?
That's a tough question. I think at the beginning we were saying in a range of 1 to 3 months. I right now don't see any reason to change that forecast. Just keeping in mind that it is a forecast, it could totally be wrong. I would. We're maybe still at the peak of it. The amount of lava coming out of fisher rate hasn't really slowed down, so it's hard to say that we're in any kind of past the peak. But I think that the fact that it seems stabilized to some degree, is a good sign. It's really impossible to know. I could make a guess, but it's really a guess. I still don't see any reason to change from that original forecast of, it possibly could go on another month. I don't know. It's not going to be a couple of days. I'll tell you that. It's going to be longer than that, right? So that's kind of what we do know. People have been asking, is it possible that this thing can become the next Pu'o as far as how long it lasts? And it's possible. It doesn't usually happen that way. Pu'o was kind of abnormal. It was unusual in that it did that. Most of the time it doesn't happen as far as a human history of the land that we can read that's there today. That doesn't usually happen. It's happened a couple of times, Pu'o and Heheahulu, for example, but usually it doesn't. So that's kind of all we have to go on. That's why we that's why it's our guess that we say that we don't think so, but we're not sure.
Right on, right on. So,
one question.
any other questions, gang?
One question I saw.
Well,
Yeah.
Arthur been saying that there's tons of earthquakes back to back, all night tonight.
Yeah, so obviously we can't look at the live camera right now, but if that big ash explosion hasn't happened, then it's going to be coming pretty soon, right? We showed you guys a plot of the kind of earthquakes ramping up before the big one that puts out a big ash cloud. So the fact that they're increasing that much means probably one is coming on soon. That's what I would expect. Yeah. One interesting question I saw, people were talking about that kind of upwelling in the ocean, right? When you guys went, there's pictures of you guys in a boat by the ocean entry. You can see like there's a kind of a circle in a water, right? That's what happened when lava flows underneath the water, right? The water above it gets heated up and it kind of comes up like a boiling pot. So when you see that circle on the surface of the ocean, that means there's lava flowing right underneath there, right? So it definitely is flowing underwater. I don't know how deep the water is right there. It's obviously changing, but that shows the flow is actually active still underwater.
Wow. Yeah, we've been going through that here at these ocean entries here, and also the past ocean entries in Kīlauea. So, that's all upwelling from all these eruptions or lava beneath on the bottom of the ocean floor, sea floor, and that could be it. But yeah, so I gotta sign off so somebody's going there. Don't worry, guys. I'm not tired. Well, a little bit. Well, yeah, I am, but that's okay. I like do this. Go for a little while more, but we got some key answers, key questions, and the key answers being answered by Philip and myself. And any other questions you guys have? No, we can't look underwater, so that place is very, very heavily very murky because of the sand, and the water is really, really dirty. So it's difficult to be diving in that area.
Yeah.
So
here's a guy who's got a question he's typed out a bunch of times. How does I missed that one. Let me answer the other one about where is the lava producing inside the core of the Earth. That's something I'd maybe talk about a little more in the future, like in more detail. But no, we don't think so. Geologists argue about hotspots all the time, about how, where they actually come from, how deep they come. One thing that seems more true at Hawaii than other places is that the heat may be coming from the core of the Earth, heating material in the mantle itself that's kind of rising up, and that in turn actually melts the bottom of the crust that the island's on, right? So the actual lava itself is not itself coming from the core of the Earth, but the heat possibly could be. That's a short version, and I can kind of go into more detail later on. And yeah, tell me your question again. I didn't hear it. Earthquakes in Kīlauea. Okay, so there's lots of fault lines all across the volcano, right? And it could be that I haven't looked at the map right now, but the earthquakes could be the movement of the volcano under Kīlauea. It's also possible that we get. One thing I look at is how deep those earthquakes actually occur. The deeper they are, then the more likely it is actually from magma coming up through the crust of the Earth, since we're talking about that. So the actual pipeline that Hawaii comes actually kind of underneath the Kīlauea desert area.
Oh, it's raining here.
Maybe down from the area, like way deep down. So if the earthquakes are really deep over there, then it's probably something like that. If it's something shallower near the surface, it's probably the volcano moving, right? We talked about how Mauna Loa and Kīlauea don't actually connect with their lavas, but they do lean on each other. So that's a spot where they lean on each other, and so if one moves, they can kind of rub against each other there. That could also be happening. So those are the first most likely things that are going on.
Oh, the rain is pumping right now, all because of that ocean entry and the plume area, man. The rain is coming down hard.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's a lot of acid rain, you guys. Try to find a a pH meter and see if you can measure that sometime. That'd be interesting to see what the pH of that rain is.
Yeah. So, all right, gang. This rain is gonna come and it's gonna be bad. So, we're gonna end this update, but I'll call you, Phil. Maybe we can do one in the morning. Is that possible?
You guys morning well, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of traveling again tomorrow, so I'm gonna be
How about
kind
the
of
same
out
time
of service
tomorrow?
for a while, and I can't promise because I'm gonna be traveling. Yeah, so that makes it kind of tough. But if I can't, then I'll try to at least do some text updates or something, whatever I can in between, right? Because obviously you can't use your cell phone on the
Okay,
plane.
man.
I'm not headed back
Oh,
quite yet, but I'm going to be traveling. But I'll be back. I'll be back soon. I promise. Next weekend.
all right, Phil. Well, thank you very much for. Man, it's coming down hard here. So, um,
Yeah, thank you
we
guys for
always
your hard work. You guys are staying over
leave it
there.
here. We always leave our update with one saying at the end. Phil, you got this one.
Yeah, maybe better one of us does it since the connection is not so good, eh? All right, guys. Aloha and stay classy, Puna.
Stay classy, Puna. Aloha.